Hi, I am Dr. Tiffany Row. Thanks so much for joining me for this webinar. This one is on 5 positive takeaways from distance learning and special education. Now, I know it's been rough out there. I know there have been a lot of challenges, and there have been students that have really struggled and are regressing or aren't able to really fully participate in distance learning very much at all. So this is not to dismiss the challenges that we faced, because those are definitely there and definitely an issue that we're really concerned about. But there are a few positives, right? There's a few positive takeaways that I want to share with you that have come out of this craziness. And I think it's good to keep a balanced outlook because we hear a lot about the challenges. I see a lot about it in the news. It starts to feel really heavy. But there's also some positives that we can just give a little bit of attention to, a little bit of mindfulness to the positives, so that we have that balanced mindset of remembering that sometimes some good things can actually come out of the biggest challenges that we have. So I'm just going to take a little bit of time to share those with you. But first of all, I just want to say thank you to all of you teachers out there. I know you guys are out there on the front lines as far as I'm concerned in terms of keeping our society running. So thank you so much for all that you're doing. You're now at the time of this recording, this is the very end of October. We'll be posting this next week in November. And schools have gone back to kind of this hybrid learning model, many of them. And so you are juggling with having students in person as well as distance learning and having to be responsible for all of them. You have to do a lot more. It's a lot more work. And I appreciate you so much. So thank you for doing what you do, and just keeping our world running in the way that you do. All right, so here are the 5 positive takeaways that I selected to share with you and talk a little bit more about. And I'm going to talk about each one. So closer family connections, some reduced stressors for students, more independent learning skills, increased technology skills, and a greater focus on social emotional skills in schools, or social emotional learning in schools. That one might be my very favorite. So let me talk a little bit more about each one. Number one, I'm hearing from so many teachers that, and I guess, by the way, I gleaned all of this information from several sources. I've attended webinars myself on distance learning and special education, put on by schools that have already been doing it even before the pandemic. And I've also been gathering information from our own teachers in the program and some of the schools that we have partnerships with, as well as what I've been reading about in terms of what's happening. So these are the 5 that I chose. There are some other things as well, but I just wanted to give you 5 snippets. So one thing that has been reported over and over again is developing closer family connections. We've had to stay really close with our families to make sure that that they have the technology that they need, and that they are able to access Zoom and all of that, and just also to keep close contact with how it's going at home, and how can we work together to create a successful learning environment at home. And so that's one of the things that teachers have been saying. They want to keep that going. The closer family connections is helping them to feel closer with the families, but also feel closer with the student and get a better idea, better whole picture of the student. So that's been a real positive. And parents and teachers alike have a new appreciation for each other, right? We heard this a lot everywhere. I would see it on social media, kind of joking, but really showing like, oh my gosh, I never understood what teachers go through until my child started staying home full time to do distance learning. So a lot more appreciation for teachers. And I think teachers are also having more appreciation for parents for many different reasons as well. And then collaboration and communications has really been a key component to success in distance learning. We are seeing some successes, and at the root of those successes are that close collaboration with family to help things work, to help things be effective at home. So we could keep this going post-pandemic by continuing with those frequent check-ins with families, offering regular Zoom office hours. That's something that a lot of teachers have been doing, is offering weekly office hours that parents can pop in and troubleshoot what's going on or ask questions. And I love that because it is more accessible for many families, as long as they have the technology to jump on Zoom, which I know that's an accessibility issue, but it eliminates their need to take off from work and drive to the school, and the whole thing can take like an hour, even if they just need to talk to you for 10 or 15 minutes. So I love that idea in terms of just accessibility for parents who maybe can't take off work so easily, but they really need to talk to you. And, it's kind of hard over the phone. They get that face-to-face time with you in those office hours. And then just continuing to show each other appreciation. Another positive for many students, and not all, but many parents are reporting that the reduction or elimination of certain stressors have been huge in terms of their kids' just kind of mental state. They're more relaxed, and they are actually showing more engagement academically and having more positive feelings about school. Now, again, this is just a few, this isn't everyone, but I've been hearing this repeatedly from different sources that some students are doing well at this, partly in part because stressors are reduced, such as they no longer have to wake up early and get dressed and brush their hair and put on shoes and feel rushed and leave on time. Of course, we still want them to put on a decent shirt and brush their hair, at least in the front, but it's just been reducing that stressor, the stressor of the morning rush. Also, they haven't had to take the bus, and the bus can be a really big source of stress for many of our students because of just several stressors, maybe peers on the bus or, what have you, just the traveling by bus. So that's been eliminated. Also at school, there are different lighting situations that can actually really stress kids out. Fluorescent lights, flickering lights, bright lights, where the student just cannot focus on anything but that flickering light in the back of the room, and it can't be fixed, whatever, things like that. The loud bell at school, it happens every 45, 50 minutes. Any kind of negative or annoying peer interactions is no longer happening. So they're able to just kind of relax from that. And of course, negative teacher interactions, I'm sure not with you, but there are other staff sometimes. Sometimes the noon duty supervisors, we love them, but sometimes they have to be real loud because they're overseeing all of those students out at recess. So they're yelling, they're blowing their whistle, get over here, come on, guys. And it's stressful to some of our students, especially if they're a little more sensitive to that. And then just staying at school for 6 hours straight can be kind of a lot. So those stressors have been reduced or eliminated, and some of our students are really benefiting from that. And then we are also finding, now, like I said, many students in special education have struggled with independent learning skills. They don't have it, they're not there, and therefore they're not learning. But some parents have reported the opposite, that their kids have surprised them with developing independent learning skills that they didn't think they had. So not to dismiss the students that are struggling, because that's definitely an issue that we have to continue to address. But it's also, on the other side of the coin, it's good to recognize that some students are rising to the occasion and developing independent learning skills beyond our expectations, which is awesome. So with the decrease or elimination of some of those school stressors, and then the handing off of responsibility for learning, some students have really risen to the occasion, to new levels of independent learning. And often these students might be secondary level or have received learning support for a few years. And it's kind of like the timing all fell into place, and it's working out well for them. And then, of course, increased technology for students, teachers, and parents. They have learned to use technology such as, this is just to name a few, but when you really list it out, you see, oh, wow, that's a lot. Now, a lot of classrooms were already using a lot of these, but this is just a handful that I thought up off the top of my head of what I've been seeing our teachers use and what my child uses. Google Classroom, Flipgrid, Zoom, just learning to be in a meeting online is a really great skill for students and teachers to learn and be able to use post-pandemic when maybe not everyone's able to get together physically for whatever reason. So, and what they're talking about is we may be able to reduce absences in the future if students could log on when they're just maybe feeling okay, but they're a little under the weather or they're contagious. They could log on from distance learning possibility. This might reduce weather-related school closures if we're able to keep the technology in with families, and prepare students for future telecommuting or work from home careers. Some of our students would really do well in a work from home or telecommuting kind of a career. And so now they have this opportunity to learn skills that they would be able to take with them to pursue a career like that. And then I think it's my favorite one. There has been a huge push on focusing on social emotional learning more than ever. And this is long overdue, guys, because even pandemic aside, life's hard, right? Life is hard for a lot of our students. And even if they, just some of our students deal with very intense emotions internally, even if they've got a pretty nice life. And then aside from that, though, some of our students are really struggling with various life stressors. So in my opinion, this is long overdue. We've needed to focus on social emotional learning all along. And so now I hope so much that this is going to continue post-pandemic. Teachers have been incorporating mindfulness, meditation, check-ins. Let's check in with how everybody's feeling. How are you feeling emotionally? How do you feel that in your body? Where do you feel frustration in your body? Journaling, teaching students how to journal, just open sharing of how everybody's doing. There's more of that happening. More support to students as they experience increased pandemic-related anxiety or hardship, or not even pandemic-related too. And like I said, many students experience this outside the pandemic, and including trauma, anxiety, and depression, or just being an intense little person. Some people are just more intense than others. And if we've got to help them learn to cope with that intensity. They probably can't change it, although meditation can bring the intensity down, and there are things that can bring it down. They're still going to have that, right? That's embedded in who they are and their temperament. And so now they have an opportunity through social emotional learning, to learn how to cope with that so that they can have better life outcomes as an intense person, right? And then, so continuing this level of social emotional learning in schools may help create a more mindful, emotionally mature, and emotionally regulated future, as well as happier, more compassionate future adults. So I'm very excited about this piece that has come out of all of this. So, in summary, I really just wanted to validate some of what you are all doing and thank you for that, and help you to remember that there are some positives that are coming out of this. The school related stressors are going to come back. We can't really continue with that. Eliminating those, we've got to help kids learn how to deal with them. But the rest of what I've talked about, the close connections with families, the independent learning skills, the technology, and the social emotional learning, I think this can really help us going forward to continue carrying those out. All right. So thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Thank you for all that you're doing, and I wish you all the best. Bye.